Okay, hello everybody. Okay. Alright, so welcome back to another pre-markets live analysis together with IC Markets. Alright, so as usual, this is the disclaimer. Remember that everything in this webinar is educational in nature and nothing should be construed as investment or trading advice. Alright, so please remember to do your own due diligence before you guys trade. Okay, so the agenda for today will be, firstly, of course, we have high impact news events for the week, and secondly, key technical setups to watch out for. Alright, and I'm your host for today. My name is Woon and I'll be going through with you today's pre-market live analysis. Alright, so moving on to the key news events for the week ahead. Okay, so for Monday and Tuesday, we have no high impact news at all. So you can expect that the markets would not have much volatility. Okay, so Wednesday onwards, right, 10th of September, we have USD core PPI and PPI news. Alright, so this might shift the USD pairs quite a bit, right? But from experience wise, PPI news wouldn't really affect the markets that much, but of course you will still have to be careful since it is a rate folded news. Alright, so Thursday, right, we have Euro main refinancing rate, and of course we also have the Euro monetary policy statement. Okay, so this will affect pairs like Euro USD, Euro JPY, etc. Alright, then the next thing we have is USD core CPI news as well as USD unemployment claims. Okay, so for CPI and unemployment claims news, right, these are the news that you will have to be careful for, because as we all know, CPI is the consumer price index, and this would affect the markets quite a bit, especially for the USD pairs. Alright, so of course it will also move our favorite pair, which is gold. Okay, then lastly we also have Euro ECB press conference. Alright, so Thursday will be quite a, I would say it's a exciting day, right, because we have Euro news and also USD news, right? So it will be mostly for Euro USD, right? The markets will be quite volatile for Euro dollar. Alright, then on Friday we have GBP GDP. Okay, so this will affect pairs like GBP USD, GBP JPY mainly. Okay, then afterwards at night we have USD preliminary UOM consumer sentiment as well as the inflation expectations. Alright, so for this news, it might actually move the USD markets a little bit more, but also is rather the same effect as PPI news. Wouldn't really move the markets that much, right? So you wouldn't have to worry about having positions then. Okay. Alright, so enough of the key news events. Let's move on to the main thing, which is our analysis. Okay, oh wait, okay, so looking at our analysis here, alright, let's go to our daily chart. We are on the daily chart. Okay, so let's start off with our usual pivot point. Okay, so looking at the chart right here, if you zoom in a little bit more, so far DXY has been in a major downtrend. Okay, you can see how DXY has been in a major downtrend. Alright, this was the point where initially I thought it will have a change of character. Alright, this is our change of character, meaning that the market would have a change in direction from bearish to bullish, right? Possibility. Okay, but price decided to consolidate here. Okay, so this is actually our pivot point right about here. Okay, why is this our pivot point is because, right, we could see a rejection right here, right, possible rejection. Okay, we are already seeing a rejection over here on the H4 chart. All right, and on the hourly chart we can also see how price is slowly recovering, and it might actually see our first obstacle, which is this area over here. Okay, if price manages to break past this H1 obstacle, all right, obstacle meaning that this is the resistance level that we are facing. Okay, if price decides to break past this resistance, there is a higher possibility for it to go to the upside. All right, so if we go back to the daily chart, okay, so this is our pivot point. All right, our pivot point is here. Okay, to be safe, let's put our pivot point right here. Pivot point. Okay, so what we are looking at is we are looking for price to, for let's say for price of DXY to come to our pivot point here, and then it will naturally have a bounce towards the upside, right? Okay, so if it has a bounce towards the upside from here, then these pairs, like our euro dollar, any pairs that ends with USD will naturally go down in the opposite direction, right? Because they have a inverse correlation with one another, right? Pairs such as euro dollar, GBP, USD, AUD USD, NZD USD, and gold have a inverse correlation with DXY. Okay, so this is just very basic fundamentals that you guys will have to know. Okay, let me remove this. Alright, so our support will actually be right here, this swing low support level over here. Okay, first support, where's our first support? Okay, then our first resistance would be right about here. Okay, this multi-swing high resistance level over here. Alright, first resistance. Okay, now let's take a look at our, wait, give me a sec. Let me see DXY. Okay, our resistance level. Okay, let's take a look at any pivot points. Let me see, any Fibo retracement level. Let me check. Yep, I think there are no Fibo retracement levels. Okay, so I think this is fine. Then this shall be our DXY analysis. I think it's pretty straightforward for this coming week ahead, because DXY is trading within this range. Okay, if you look at how DXY is right now, it is trading within this range over here. Alright, so we can expect to see it have a bounce from this pivot point to at least this first resistance level. So we are waiting for it to break past this resistance point. Then it will show, it will affect pairs like gold, GBP USD, etc. Alright, okay, so as usual, right, if you guys have any questions or any pairs that you guys want me to go through with you along the way, right, feel free to type it in the live chat. Alright, and I'll get to your question or the pair that you want to do the analysis on almost immediately. Okay. Alright, so let me see. Okay, so this is for DXY. Okay, I think it's pretty straightforward. Okay, let's move on to euro dollar. Alright, so euro dollar has been on the rise for quite some time. We have a little dip over here, which isn't really very concerning, right? Because price is recovering right now. Alright, but there is another level that we might have to be careful of, which is this supply zone area, right? You can see how price is rejecting this area right now. Okay, let me see. Yeah, okay, so let's do our analysis right now. Okay, so our level of pivot point is right here. Yeah, this level, let me do a comparison. Okay, next level over here, 90 pips. This is 177, 178, 60 pips. Okay, this is our pivot point, US 30. Alright, sure. After euro dollar, I'll get to US 30. Alright. Okay, so this is our pivot point, right? Play it safer, right? Because price could potentially come up to this level, take out liquidity, alright, and then come up to this swing high resistance level over here. Alright, then if you look to your left, this is our resistance point. Okay, this is our resistance point. Alright, then as for our support, where shall our support be? Our support shall be this area over here. Let me take a look at H4. H4 is really bearish. Okay. Okay, this shall be our first support. Okay, pivot point, bearish arrow. Alright, so let me see if we are able to... Oh, there isn't any fib retracement level as well for euro dollar. Actually, the markets are not looking that well right now, right? All the pairs are actually ranging. If you see right here, okay, if you see right here, price is also ranging, right? Same as DXY, right? If you look at DXY is also ranging, right? Previously, right here, price is consolidating, okay? Then if you take a look at, let me adjust, okay. Then if you look at euro dollar, this area is also consolidating. Alright, so yeah, let's take a look at how the markets will play out for euro dollar and all these major pairs, right? Okay, so but the analysis is that price will come up to this swing high resistance level and fall back down to this first support level and continue to trade within this range over here. Okay, it's a bullish range, right? So we want to take advantage of it trading within this channel, and then once it breaks out, then we can also trade the breakout of this channel. Alright, so it can be pretty versatile, right? It could go back down here. That is one option. Or the other option, right, is for it to have a break over here, retest, and then come up to this first resistance level over here. Okay, that is also another possibility, right? So if you see a rejection if you see a rejection over here, right, which is what the markets are doing right now, right, once it comes back to our pivot point, then we can enter sells over here, right, you can enter sells, right, stop loss placed above this swing high resistance level, TP right about here, back at the support area. Okay, so that could be your first potential trade, right? If not, then we shall follow the breakout, retest, and continuation, all right, which is right about here. Aim for a 1:2 or 1:3 risk to reward ratio. Okay, I think it's pretty straightforward for these major pairs. Okay, now let's take a look at US30. Alright, so for US30, okay, sorry, let me shift this a little bit. Okay, so for US30, right, what I am looking at is for price to this is my pivot point. Okay, you can see how there are multiple touches right about here. Okay, you can see there are multiple touches over here, which shows that this is a strong level of overlap support. Alright, and price, you see how price already bounced above this area. Okay, so wait, let me see, there might be, okay, I think we might have to choose another pivot point, which is this level of pivot point here, right, because price has already rejected this area for US30. Okay, so the next thing we might have to look at is for price. Let me see if price will actually come back up to this area. Yeah, I think it's fine. Okay, alright, so our pivot point is actually right back at this level over here. Pivot point, let me shift this. Okay, this is our pivot point. Alright, and then if you were to look at, let me see if you are able to find a 161. Okay, yeah, we are able to find a Fibo extension level. Okay, so this is our first resistance. Okay, and then for our support, right, our support will definitely be this area over here. Alright, like I mentioned, this is a overlap support area, while this is a multi-swing high resistance level. Okay, so yes, for the one for the attendee asking about US30, alright, why I chose this level as our pivot point is because I like to trade when there is a level for a bearish engulfing candle or a bullish engulfing candle, right? Okay, so if you can see how price already bounced off this support level. Okay, so the next thing that we want to look at is where price might end up at next, which is most likely this multi-swing high resistance level. Okay, then if you look at H1, okay, H1 there is also a bearish engulfing candle, which shows that price could potentially go up to this area and react to this level over here to fall back down to this first support area. Okay, so that is what I'm looking at for US30. Alright, let me see if I go back to daily. Right, if I go back to daily, let me see if I'm able to find a okay. Yep, I think that is it for US30. Nothing too complicated, right? Because price has already bounced off this first support level over here previously, right? So the next thing that we want to look at is whether on H4 price will come up to this pivot point. Okay, so if you go to daily, let me see. Yeah, okay, so that is for US30. I think it's pretty straightforward, nothing too fancy, right? Okay, so it's either price will react off this pivot point, all right, and come down to this first support to go even higher, right? Or it might actually break past this pivot point and do a continuation, right? I think there is a possibility for this as well, right? Because we also have a Fibo extension level, which is right here at this first resistance level. Okay, so even though we put here that there is a pivot point here, right? But there is another possibility that price might do a break and retest. Okay, so you might want to take note of this break and retest as well. Break, retest, and continuation. All right. It's either US30 will do that, or it will react off this multi-swing high resistance level over here. Okay. Alright, GBP USD, let me see. Okay, so for GBP USD, right, the other major that we are looking at, alright. Okay, so our pivot point is actually still this two swing high resistance level over here, right? You can already see how GBP USD is reacting off this bearish engulfing candle, all right? But there is a chance for it to come back up to this pivot point to go even lower. All right, so this is something that you might want to take note of. Let me see. H4, how does H4 look? Okay, let me see. Okay, we might shift our pivot point over here. Which pair are you talking about, please? Sorry? Which pair? Like the current one now or the previous one? Okay, to look at the pair that I am currently on, right? You can look at this panel over here, right? Which is GBP USD. The one that I am looking at right now is GBP USD, alright, which is the pound dollar. Okay, so we are doing the analysis for pound dollar right now. Alright, so for, wait, let me just take a look. Okay, yep, okay, let's, our pivot point for GBP USD will be this level over here. Alright, let's see how the markets will open for GBP USD. Alright, so this is our pivot point. Then of course our resistance level would be this high over here. But most probably price wouldn't even come to this high, right? we are just waiting to see how price would react to this pivot point over here. Okay, because right here we can already see that price has broken past this low, which is indicating a change of character. Okay, if you take a look at let's say you watch videos online for YouTube, or you attended previous SMC, which is Smart Money Concept webinars on IC markets, you can see CHOCH indicates that it is a change of character in the markets. Alright, so this would show that price would become bearish afterwards. Alright, that's why we are already looking at a rejection right here. Okay, so the next target will be this low, this swing low level here. Price to come towards this swing low support area. Okay, so that's why our pivot point is here. Okay, just that on let's say on the lower time frame, on let's say H4, we are waiting for, or even H1, right? Our price has really come down. Okay, it's fine. Let's see if price would come back up to this level, and then we can enter off this pivot point again. All right, so our support level will be this swing low support area. We are patiently waiting for price to come back up to our pivot point to fall back down to this first support level over here. All right. Okay, then let me see if there are there are no fit levels over here. Yeah, I think GBP US, all the majors don't look too good right now, right? You can see there are a lot of consolidations. I think it's because it's the statistics of the bad months ahead, right? If you look at statistics, right, September is usually the worst performing months. August and September are the worst performing months in the year. All right, so that's why usually the markets are pretty slow, right? There are a lot of consolidation, right, towards the end of the year. All right. Okay, so let's see. For USD JPY, let me reset this. Okay, USD JPY, right? Let me see, euro dollar. Yeah, okay, so for USD JPY, what I'm looking at is for it to have the same effect as DXY, right? Because they have a positive correlation, right? So this shall be my pivot point for USD JPY. Okay, then for my support, okay, my support level would be, let me see, okay, so for my support level for DXY, right, honestly I wouldn't even put it too far, right? This is too far already, right? If I were to put it here for my support level, right, instead I'll just put it at this swing low support area. Okay, because of how tight I want the stop loss to be, right? So this shall be my first support, and for my first resistance, okay, my first resistance, this shall be my first resistance over here. So like DXY, okay, price is actually consolidating right about this area over here, right? So technically what I am looking at for USDJPY is for it to trade within this range. Okay, trade within this range meaning for price to bounce within this range. Alright, that's why from this pivot point, price will most likely come out to this first resistance. Okay, that's why our pivot point, what we are looking at is for price to bounce off this pivot point to go towards our first resistance point over here. Alright, for USDJPY, there's no extra confluences like our FIT levels, right? Okay, that should be it for USDJPY. Let me see any other confluences that I can look at. See, rejection. Yeah, okay, that's for USDJPY. Okay, now let's take a look at USD CHF. Okay, so for USD CHF, if you look on the bigger scale, right, you can see how price is actually, if you look on the bigger scale, you can see how price is actually in a very bearish downtrend, right? You can see right here, it has been bearish all the way, right? So what we are looking at is there a possibility for price to reverse from this level over here? Okay, so what we are looking at is for price to possibly react to this level over here, this pivot point, which is a swing low support level over here, right? And then for our, let me see, wow, that's 50 pips only. Okay, price 50 pips. Let me take a look at CHF. Ah yes, okay, so this is my swing low support level. Okay, my first support level is over here. Alright, so what we are looking at, even though price is in a very bearish downtrend, right, you can already see from here, you can already see from here, right? But what we are looking at is for price to, you can see how price reacted very nicely to all these levels, right? What we are looking at is for price to come down, react to this level of pivot point, and then come back up to this, at least this level over here, which is back to this bearish trend line. Alright, so this is what I am looking at for USD CHF. Right, let me see if there is. Okay, we also have our extension. We have our inverse Nike tick extension over here. So there is a higher possibility for price to fall towards our pivot point at the 161.8% Fibo extension level. Alright, and then anything else? Let me see. Okay, nope. Yeah, I think that is Oh yes, almost forgot my first resistance level. First resistance, okay, and then my arrow over here. Okay, I think this USD CHF trade is a much better trade than all these other pairs like euro dollar, right? Somehow, okay, USD CHF wasn't part of the list, part of the pairs that I was looking at previously. But I think from what I can see, right, price is actually doing quite well for USD CHF, right? It's actually respecting trend lines and also all the engulfing candles. Okay, let me just show you an example. If I just trade based off engulfing candles, right? If you look right here, bearish engulfing candle, highlight body of the candle, okay, this whole last upward movement before the bearish candle, you trade off the entry of this, which is considered your order block, right? Some people call it order block. Okay, you just trade off this, right? Your target is the previous low, definitely hit. Okay, next thing, you go back here again, you find a engulfing candle. The next engulfing candle is, let me see, no engulfing candle so far with a break of structure. All right, here, okay, right, this level, yeah, this level, but this level will have hit your stop loss. Okay, then you enter off this engulfing candle as well. Okay, this one barely hit your stop loss, right? Barely hit your stop loss and then came all the way back down. All right, so if you notice, some pairs, not all pairs work the same, right? Sometimes like for example, for the next 3 months, USD CHF would probably be good to trade engulfing candles and also support and resistance areas combined with Fibo confluences, right? But the following 3 months after that, price wouldn't respect the same strategy, right? So you will have to adjust and see how price reacts. Okay, because a lot of people don't usually adjust their strategy, right? But I would suggest you can make slight adjustments, okay, so that you can avoid having very consecutive losses. All right, okay, so the next thing is USD CAD, right? This is the next pair that I am actually looking at. Okay, so USD CAD, what I am expecting it to do is for it to come up to this, either this pivot point or actually this level, before you start to take sell positions. Why this level is because, remember, I like to trade off bearish engulfing candles. All right, and if you guys notice, right, let me show you, we also have, I'm not sure if this, okay, wait, let me adjust this a little bit. Okay, what we are looking at is in a head and shoulders pattern. All right, so this is our left shoulder, this is our head, and this is potentially our right shoulder, right? So what we are looking at is for price to come back up to this level over here before we take our sell positions. Okay, So if you go to here, right, you already see price is rejecting, but don't worry, right, it is rejecting this area because here there is already a there is already a bearish engulfing candle together with a level over here. That's why price is rejecting of this area. Okay, but most likely price will still come back up to this pivot point because this is another level for sell opportunities. Okay, so let's go back to our daily chart. Right, okay, this is our pivot point, and then for our first resistance level, right, this is our swing high resistance level, which aligns with the 127.2% Fibo extension level over here. Okay, let's see. Yeah, I think this is fine. Then our first support is of course this multi swing low support level over here. Okay, so I think for USD CAD, you could also highlight this area. So if price ever comes back to this point, what we are looking at is for sells right at this entry of this candle. Okay, stop loss placed above this high, right, TP at this low over here. This shall be our USD CAD trade. Okay, or another what some people would like to do is to trade right about here, stop loss placed above this high, TP placed at this low. Could be this as well. Okay. Okay, any questions so far? Right, any questions, you can just type it in the live chat. Right, just give me a sec. Let me just take a little bit more water. Alright. Okay, just took more water. Okay, now let's take a look at AUD USD. Oh, AUD USD actually looks. Okay, let me just reset this a little bit and let me see. AUD USD seems a little bit high. Okay, AUD USD H4. See, okay, AUD USD, this would be the perfect pivot point. I would love to trade. Oh, hello. Hi Nick, welcome back. No worries. Okay, AUD USD. Okay, let me see. AUD USD. Let me look at H4. H4. Yeah. Okay. Oh yeah, Nick. We have done DXY already. Yeah, you can look back at the video later on, right, to see the analysis for DXY and also the other pairs, right? No worries. So far we have gone through DXY, Euro dollar, Pound dollar, USD JPY, from DXY all the way to USD CAD as well as US 30. Okay, no worries, right? Small thing. Okay, so for AUD USD, this swing high resistance point is a good level for our pivot level, right? If you were to pick this area, right? If you were to pick this area, right, you can see how there is already a rejection, right? Some people will tend to sell here, but you can see how price is still unstable, right? Price is deciding to break this point or go lower, right? Most probably it will actually break this area to come up to this higher resistance point over here, right? So what I would like to do is to place our pivot point at this swing high resistance level, all right? And then for our resistance, we'll place it at this on the left, right? This swing high resistance point here, okay, which is slightly above this swing high resistance level. All right, then for our first support shall be placed at this swing low support area. Okay, then let's see, yeah, let me see, I think there is a 161, yep, 127, yep, right about here. Okay, so if you draw out your Fibo extension level, right, you can see there is a 127.2% Fibo extension level at our pivot point, and also a 161.8% Fibo extension level at our first resistance level. So these two areas of resistance are key levels where price might end up at. Okay, so what I would like price to see is that price will react to this swing high resistance level to fall towards our first support, right, and then rise towards this first resistance level afterwards. Then we can take a sell again right here. Okay, this is what I'm looking at for AUD USD. I don't think there are other Fibo retracement levels actually. Wait, let me see. Yeah, I think there aren't other Fibo. Oh, wait, there might be. Yeah, okay, so if you draw out your projection as well, right, from this swing low to this swing high, back to this swing low, right, you can see how we have our 78.6% Fibo projection. Okay, so 78.6% Fibo projection together with this 127.2% Fibo extension level shows that there is a higher chance for price to drop from this pivot point as compared to this first resistance level right here. So this is a more stable pivot point, I would say. Alright, then yes, okay, that is it for AUD USD. Okay, let's go to NZD USD. Okay, so if you go to NZD USD, right? Let me see if there is a NZD USD. Okay, yeah, so NZD USD, we'll choose this pivot point, right? Because there is a higher possibility for price to continue upwards to at least our pivot point right about here. Alright, then after that, okay, it might potentially come towards this first resistance area over here. Alright, and then for our first support, okay, yep, our first support, we will pick this as our first support area over here. Let me see, oh wait, actually this could be our pivot point. Yeah, I think this is fine. Yeah, this is fine. Okay, I think this makes a little bit more sense, right? Most probably in the Asian session, right, NZD USD could potentially react off this pivot point to go lower already, right? It could start to show rejection right about in an hour's time actually, right? There you can see how the markets will move slowly. All right, then after that we can see how this will work. Okay, let me see. Yeah, you can literally see, yeah, you can see how the market actually opened with a bearish candle. Yeah, okay, so let's see how this might work out. This pivot point aligns right about at our 78.6% Fibo projection level, right about here. Okay, so you can potentially see the bearish movement. Okay, this is a little bit more exciting now because price is starting to move a little bit for the Asian pairs, but still very slow, so don't worry. Okay, let me see. Okay, yeah, I think this is fine. Okay, then the next thing we shall look at is gold. Alright, I think you can see how gold has been on the rise since like 20th August, right? There isn't any other levels that we can reference from, right? Even if I look at the weekly chart, right? Even if I look at the weekly chart, okay, and I draw a projection, it has really far exceeded our expectations. Right now it is at the 100% Fibo projection, right? But it could easily just break past these levels. Okay, so I would suggest to stay out from gold for the time being, right? There aren't any levels that you would want to reference from, right? Apart from, I would say, apart from this key level, which could potentially be a pivot point, right? And then this is our This is our first support. I think that's it. That's potentially it for gold. If you look at weekly, right, you can see how if you really want to trade gold. Okay, let me see. Yeah, already surpassed the 100% projection, so it's impossible to try to find sells. But if you really want, right, you can find entry points on gold. Never ever try to sell against the trend. Okay. Alright, so the next level for gold, I would say it would be probably this area right here. Okay, this area possible to look for buy opportunities, right? Because we already have a break of structure right here. Okay, this is our break of structure. Right, then what you could be looking at is, wait, let me see. Yeah, what you could be looking at is a long entry here. I would say keep the stop loss to the minimum, right? Target right about this high. 1:2.54. I think this is fine, right? This could be your trade for lower time frame trade for gold. There aren't any levels on the higher time frame that you can trade on. Impossible, right? Because it is all the way bullish. If you want to look for a entry on the higher time frame, it will be pretty difficult. Okay, so I would say for gold, you want to trade right about here. Okay, this is the level that you might want to look at. Alright, so I might just leave this here. Okay, let me see if I can draw. Yep, 78.6%. Okay, right at the 78.6% area, right, it aligns with our point of interest. Yep. Okay, so this could be our potential trade for gold on the lower time frame. Alright, let me see, any other things that I missed out? Oh, my favorite pair. Oh my goodness. JPY actually opened with a gap of 80 pips. What? Wow. Okay. It opened with a gap of 80 pips right here. That's interesting. Okay, let's go to our daily time frame. Okay, so our pivot point next is actually this level. Let me see. Yep, it's at this level over here. This could potentially be our pivot point, but it seems too bullish already, right? So I would say it might actually have a break and continuation. Okay, I would most likely want to trade the break and continuation. Yeah, just waiting for it to happen later on. Alright, don't have to rush into it, just wait and see how this might break and retest. If not, it will just be a rejection, and then you can trade you can trade off this level. Okay, then for the resistance level, oh, that's too high. Let me find a proper resistance level. First resistance, okay, yep, we shall use this 127.2% Fibo extension level, right, for it to come back up. Okay, so let's see how this might work out. Okay, if not, then we might see a rejection towards our first support to continue trading within this range over here. Okay, let me see how S&P is doing. S&P is doing fine. Oh, we have a very nice area over here. Okay, S&P is doing fine. US, Germany 40. Okay, Germany 40, same analysis as US 30, right? We have our pivot point over here. We are just waiting for it to come down to our pivot point before we take buy positions, right? Then our first support could be aligned with this swing low support level, as well as the 127.2% Fibo extension level over here. And if you were to enter the trade, right, it'll look something like this. I think pretty straightforward. 1:2.41 risk to reward ratio, right? If you guys want like to trade something in replacement of gold, right, you can probably choose US 30. I think it's fine, or even Germany 40, right? But you will have to do your back testing for it as well. Okay. All right. So that's the end of today's pre-markets live analysis. I hope that you guys have been able to capture all the setups. If not, you can just watch the replay again. Alright, so that is all from me to you guys. Alright, I shall see you guys again in 2 weeks time. Okay, next week it will be another analyst. Alright, so yes, I shall see you guys again soon. Okay, take care, stay safe and trade safe. Alright, bye bye.